Welcome to Paths to Wellness with Shifa Enright and Fergal McLaughlin.
Okay, good morning. You're very welcome. So this is our reconvened Paths to Wellness programme. We're still at the Primary Care Centre here in Mullingar. Things are a little bit different because of COVID and a lot of people are working from home, and we're sorry that we weren't able to continue the final 4 weeks, final 4 weeks?
Yeah.
4 weeks
Yeah.
of the Paths to Wellness programme. So we've decided to bring Paths to Wellness to you. So we're taking up where we stopped. And we're starting on week 3, and today what we just thought we might do, we're really glad that you're all going to be able to join us for this, but we're just going to very quickly run through some of the guidelines about why it is that we're doing Paths to Wellness. So just remember to come virtually to every session. We'll be here. Be respectful of other people's ideas in the privacy of your home. You can just listen to what Fergal and I have to say, and hopefully that will work okay for you. Obviously, we're still maintaining confidentiality about anything that's discussed and the things that were discussed previously. Give any activity at least a 2-week trial. So what Fergal and I are going to be talking about for the remaining sessions still is really valid. So give everything that you come across at least a 2-week trial and find out whether it's something that's useful for you. Make and complete an action plan each week, so we'll be going through parts of the action plan. It doesn't matter whether you don't remember what the action plan you had done the last day that we'd met, what you planned to do. It doesn't matter. We're going to start fresh, and we'll go through the details of it. And then you will be in your own homes, but maybe do turn off the mobile phone or the radio so that you can just concentrate on your time that you're devoting to Paths to Wellness for the next hour?
About that, yeah.
About an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Okay, great. So we'll go straight into our action plans.
Great.
Okay, so we're doing a feedback on the action plans. So at the end of week 2, my action plan was to do a gratitude diary. So the what of my action was I was going to keep a gratitude diary. The when was I was going to do it before bed, just before bed for about 10 minutes. How much was to do it, for the 10 minutes, and how often was 3 days a week. So yeah, I got to complete that, and I tell you, I was very glad that I was using my gratitude diary in the last couple of weeks. So I accomplished my action plan. How'd you get on, Fergal?
That was great.
Okay, super.
My action plan had to be go walking.
Okay.
So what I was doing was walking for
Yeah.
40 minutes. When it was on 3 evenings
Okay.
in the week,
Uh-huh.
and I had planned to go walking out near the lake.
Right.
So I got in a couple of walks, and then the restrictions came down with
Okay.
COVID-19.
Okay.
So I modified it a little bit, and I've now started walking around my estate closer to where I live.
Great.
So I've managed to achieve it. I had to change it slightly,
Yeah.
but I've kept it going.
And that flexibility right now is really important in those action
Absolutely,
plans,
to
isn't it?
change it up a
Yeah,
little bit,
yeah.
because there's always things changing and there's uncertainty in that. So yeah,
Great. Well done on that.
thank you very much.
So, are we going to move on now to our next piece?
Yes,
And we're going to be looking at making decisions.
that's great.
So I'm going to hand over to you for that.
Brilliant.
Great.
Thank you very
super.
much.
So I'll stand over here.
So activity 2 today is making decisions, and decision making is part of our self-management toolbox here. So for us in our life, we all are faced with making decisions at different times, and when we're living with a long-term health condition, this can be very challenging at times, and especially because of the uncertainty. And of course, what we're living through right now is a time of real uncertainty, so it can be very challenging indeed. So therefore, to try and develop good decision-making skills is another one of the self-management tools. And we're going to have a look at it now. So, some of the decision-making steps that we go through. So the first thing that we look at is to identify the options. So think about what you're trying to decide upon. So for example, it could be around whether or not to start a new medication, or it could be around maybe making a future trip or something like that to go away. Obviously right now that's not possible, but it could be something to regard into the future, to move around. So you could always take out a pen and paper, write something down around this now even, or as we move through this section, around some ideas around some decisions that you'd like to take, maybe either now or into the future. So when you've got our decision that we're going to make a decision on, we write down the pros and cons for each option. So the pros are for this idea and the cons are against it. So list as many pros and cons for each idea as you can. Don't forget emotional reasons, so such as the fear of a side effect, or maybe travelling away too far away from your usual healthcare team. Number 3 here, give a score to each statement from 1 being not important to 5 being very important. So it's kind of like a weighting. So 1 is that it has some reason for it, but it's not very strong. 5, it has a lot of weight behind it, very strong. I will work through an example in a moment that will make that a little bit more obvious. Number 4, add up each column and compare the results to find the higher score. See which one adds up. And number 5, the most important question down here, ask yourself if this option meets the gut test. So does it feel right to you? So a question like, should I change my medication? When you ask yourself that question, does that feel right to you? If so, you probably have a decision. If not, the gut test should probably win out over your maths. Okay, so here's an example of how any decision could be made using these decision-making steps. So, thanks, Shifa.
Okay.
The example we have here, the decision to be made is, should I take this new medication? Okay, so we start with our pros on this side over here. So the first pro is, it might make me feel better. Okay, that's a pretty strong reason. So I'm going to weight this one 5. I'm going to give it a 5, because that's pretty important to me to feel better. The next pro that I would have here is, it could help prevent complications. So again, I think that would be a pretty important reason. So I'm going to weight that at 4. I'm going to give that 4. Down here, the next one is, I might be able to do more. And again, if it was allowed me a little bit more mobility or something like that, well then it would be really important for me, and I'd give that a weighting of 5. So these are 3 really strong pro reasons here for taking this new medication, 5, 4 and 5. And that all adds up to 14. Okay, great. So the pros total 14. So then I come on to the other side and I look at against maybe taking the new medication, or the cons. So the first thing I can think of is, there may be side effects that I don't like. So the side effects might be very unpleasant. So I'm going to weight that around a 3. Another thing against changing my medication, well, it's yet another pill I have to remember to take. And I'm going to give that only maybe a weighting of 1. I'm only on a couple of other medications, so that's not overly onerous on me. Number 3, initially it may mean I can do less. That's the way sometimes medications work like that. New ones take a little while to get going. So I'm going to weight that at 3. And of course, with anything, when we're trying it, or our doctor might have suggested it to us or whatever, with best will in the world, it may not work. So that's a fear that I have, it may not work. I'm going to weight that at 4. So I'll add up my cons total, so 3, 1, 3, 4, and that gives me 11. Okay, so my pros total on this side was 14, and my cons total 11. Okay, so obviously when we look at that, the pros total is greater than the cons, so 14 is bigger than 11. So from my maths here, or my pros and cons, the decision result is to take this medication. Okay, but remember, we ask ourselves this question now: does it meet the gut test? And I've been kind of thinking about changing medication, so I felt, yeah, it does. It does, it feels right to it. So both the maths, the pros and cons, add up to, yes, I should change the medication, and my gut test also comes up with a yes as well. So, that's how you work through a decision-making process. So you can see it's quite involved it's for a decision that has, that's kind of important to us to make. So certainly changing medication or planning maybe a trip away at some future date or something like that, they will be big decisions to make. And that's how we work through the pros and cons section, and then remember to ask yourself the gut test. So normally at this point, when we're running this in the group, we'd ask you to work through an example now. So what I'd ask you to do at home there is, with your pen and paper, if you've thought up of a decision that you're thinking about or something that you're trying to work through, write down some of the pros for that. Give them a weight. Give them how important is that. 1, not that important. 5, very important to me. And then on the other side of the page, just like our chart here, the cons, and similarly put down the math scores along there, the weightings. Add them up, see which side comes out the best. And then remember to ask yourself, whatever that you're trying to decide around, does this meet the gut test? Does it feel right to you to do this? Okay. So you can take a couple of, a little while at home, or even after this has finished rolling, something you can come back to and try and work through it from there. But remember that decision making is one of our tools in our self-management toolbox. Okay, and now we'll be moving on to activity 3. I'll hand you back to Shifa.
Okay, great. So welcome back to the next session today that we're going to look at is pain and fatigue management. So we're going to spend about 15-20 minutes on talking about that right now. So some of the most common symptoms in our symptom cycle are pain and fatigue. So you can see them here in terms of fatigue being a real difficulty in terms of the overall symptom cycle. And we have pain over here, and we know that pain can have an impact on so many other aspects of our symptoms. So what we know is that although these are different symptoms, so pain and fatigue are different symptoms, their causes and the tools that we can use to manage them are actually quite similar. So we're going to do a quick free think. We introduced these to you before. So a free think basically is that anybody can share, no commenting during the free think, no questions until after, and clarification waits until after. So the first thing that we're going to free think about today is, what are some of the causes of pain? So we've written it up here. So what are some of the causes of pain? Now, you have a pen and you have some paper, and I'm going to pause for about 20 seconds just to allow you to think about that. For you, what are some of the causes of your pain? Okay, great. Okay, so what we're going to do is to look at a sheet that we prepared earlier that answers some of those questions. Now, you may have come up with some other ideas about what causes your pain, but we're just going to look through some of the ones that are listed here. So, some possibilities of what are some of the causes of pain are the actual disease itself, so the condition that you have, that can certainly cause you some pain. Muscle tension, we know, has a role in terms of causing pain. Depression, so if you're feeling quite low, it may be that you're just more aware of some of the pain that you typically have, but it becomes even harder to bear when you're feeling depressed. And we know that some medication side effects can actually produce pain too. And then the final one that we've written down here today is inactivity, because sometimes when we become inactive, our joints, our body actually does experience more pain. Okay, so this is the list that we have. You may have added one or two others to that list as well. Okay, great. So the next thing that we're going to ask is, when I find where I am at here, what other things, which of these also cause fatigue? So we've just looked at what are some of the causes of pain. We're kind of going back on this question and asking a slightly different one. So which of these also cause fatigue? So if you're looking down through this list, I'm wondering, can you identify any of the ones that you think would, oops, I was about to sneeze, would also cause fatigue? What do you think, Fergal?
I think maybe the disease itself.
Yeah, I agree with you. How about this one?
Depression, yeah, sure. And perhaps inactivity.
Yeah.
Also.
So
Yeah.
I think there, what we're seeing is your disease, the actual condition that each of us have, the level of low mood or depression that we might be experiencing, and inactivity typically will contribute to that feeling of fatigue. Okay? Okay, great. So,
That's another question now.
next question.
What other things?
So what other things might cause fatigue? So we're now looking for any other ideas that you might have about what other things might cause you to feel fatigue. And I suppose what we're doing here is we're taking some of the information that we've gained from people who've participated in this course over the last couple of years, because we can't get your feedback directly to us here in the health centre. So I think some of the things that we've identified in the past that can actually also cause fatigue are one is dehydration. So actually not taking on board enough liquids during the day can actually really lead to increased feelings of fatigue. So dehydration is definitely one. Any others that we would want to add to that list, Fergal?
Maybe a lack of sleep.
A lack of sleep, yeah, absolutely.
Something like that.
So if we're not getting a lack of sleep, and that could be in some part because of the pain that we're experiencing, it might be that that's actually also contributing to our current sense of feeling just really fatigued. Okay, great. So, moving on. Great, okay, hope you're still with us. This is probably one of the harder, the trickier free things that we do on the course. I think we'd both agree, Fergal. So stick with us with this one. So we're now going to look at another free thing, and that's what are some things that help us deal with fatigue. So think about your own circumstances, your own conditions, and maybe I'm going to pause again for about another 10 seconds. Get your pen and paper ready, and maybe just think for you, what are some things that help you to deal with fatigue when you feel it? Okay, it's just going to pause for a second there to give you time. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to write down one or two things. We did one earlier. So what we're looking at, the answers that we're looking for here is what are some things that help us deal with fatigue. So some of the ideas that people from previous courses came up with, and we think are pretty important, are that when you're experiencing fatigue, it's really important not to overdo things, that you actually manage your activity level during the day. And one way you can do that really well is to plan your day so that you build into it both some activity but also some really good times for rest. So a mix of rest and activity helps when you're trying to deal with fatigue as one of your symptoms. The other thing that's quite important is to look at exercising, and we know that there's some really good resources in your book. The book that we've given you for this program has some lovely exercises, some about neck, shoulder lifting, things that can really be done very easily in your own home. And then the final thing that we've listed here, you may have listed some other ones, are that it's really important to remain socially active in terms of managing fatigue. And I suppose with the current COVID-19 situation, we've got to get even more creative about how we can be socially active. So that might be you're exploring new ways to engage with people online. It might be that you're taking out a lovely old pen and taking a piece of paper and writing a card or a letter to somebody and hopefully receiving some back as well. So remaining socially active is a really important way to deal with fatigue. So one or two other issues that we have, and one final piece that we wanted to add to this exercise was, which of these things that we've said already help with fatigue, which of these might also actually help with pain management? So Fergal, thank you for writing that up. So which of these also help with pain? So have a look down through the list and see if you think any of these activities actually might help to deal with pain. One that jumps out for me is planning the day so that you've got a good mix, so you're not going to be experiencing too much pain, but you're planning out your day with a mix of activity and rest. And also, just from the distraction point of view almost even, being really socially active actually allows you to be creative and distracted from some of the pain that you might be experiencing. Any other ones that you wanted to add to that, Virgo?
I think even exercising can also help
Okay,
with managing
yeah,
pain if
yeah.
you do it in a nice balanced sort of a way.
Absolutely.
So I'll go with that.
And another one that can really help in terms of managing pain is learning to say no. So if people are maybe making some unrealistic requests of you, that, you know, being somewhat assertive and just saying no, or that doesn't suit me right now, or I don't have time to do that right now. So certainly learning to say no is very helpful. And then the final one that we would suggest maybe would be to proper use of medications. So make sure that you're using your medications in a way that really maximises their ability to give you some relief, particularly from breakout pain. So proper use of medications is also something which will help to deal with pain. Okay, so there's one important thing to remember about pain. It is much easier to reduce a little pain than a great deal of pain. Thus, if an activity is painful, stop doing it before the pain gets so bad that you cannot really stand it. Also, if you're taking medication for pain, take the medicine when you have a little pain. Don't wait until that pain gets really bad. Sometimes that will stop pain from actually getting worse. Believe it or not, you will probably take less medication in the longer run, and there's a good chance that the pain will be stopped before it gets really bad. So make sure you're using your pain medication in a way that really supports you. So what we can see from this activity that we've done just in the last couple of minutes is that while the symptoms, pain and fatigue, so the symptoms are really quite different, what we've actually learned today, and you might want to go back over this and to see the track and how we've been trying to developing this argument, what we've seen is that the tools that we can actually use to deal with pain on the one hand and to deal with fatigue on the other are actually often very similar, or if not identical in some cases. This is true of most of our symptoms and the tools we will use. So while not all tools will be useful for all symptoms, most of the tools in our toolkit are useful for most symptoms. So we've already discussed some ways to deal with pain and fatigue, such as exercise, better sleep, using our mind in terms of distraction to manage symptoms. So during the remainder of this course, we'll also be looking at other skills such as healthy eating, better breathing and communication skills, which can also help to deal with fatigue and pain. So just in terms of our self-management toolbox, we're looking here from what we've talked about in terms of pain and fatigue. Physical activity is going to be important. Proper use of medications is going to be important. Problem solving can also be quite important in terms of dealing with pain and fatigue. And then using your mind maybe in terms of thinking of activities that you could use that allow you to have some distraction from the pain that you might be experiencing. So hopefully that was useful. And we're going to take a break now and we'll be back.
So welcome back. I hope you had a nice break there, that you got up, moved around a little bit, maybe had a nice cup of tea, and we're going to start back again onto activity 4 today, which is endurance exercise. So exercise, as you know, is really important at all times, but especially now during this COVID-19 situation where we're indoors an awful lot. It's hard to get out and about, but there are really some good ways in your book to do some exercises at home or indoors, and we'll be having a look at some of those now. So endurance exercise is a very versatile way to break the symptom cycle. So our symptom cycle is here. It's a very effective treatment for stress and anxiety, working out our difficult emotions, Decreasing depression or lifting our mood, it works like that. It can help to lessen the effects of fatigue and help us to sleep better at night time as well. It can also help with things like constipation and give us more energy and breath for daily activities. So it's a really powerful tool in the toolbox. Our physical activity is underneath this one. It's a really powerful tool to help us with all the symptoms nearly that are on the symptom cycle. However, to exercise safely and effectively, we should keep our exercise at a moderate level. Moderate is very different for different people, but the signs that one is exercising at a moderate endurance level are as follows. So I'll turn to here. So, moderate endurance exercise. So if you're exercising moderately, you will feel a slightly faster heart rate, so you'll know going a little bit faster. Your breathing will be faster and deeper as well, and you'll certainly start to feel slightly warmer. These are all very gradual. Slightly is the key word here. You should be able to continue for at least 10 minutes without a great sense of fatigue. You should be able to talk or recite a poem comfortably. Now, unless you have particular problems with your lungs or breathing difficulties, that could be a tricky one. But the idea here is that if you don't, and you're able to talk at a level without getting out of breath too much, then the level is okay of the exercise you're doing. And then once you're finished your endurance exercise, you would recover after 30 minutes. And that's completely recovering after resting, not doing exercise basically. Okay. So one of the most important things to learn in order to be a successful exerciser is to do moderate exercise, not intense exercise. Intensity is how hard your body works during exercise. The same exercise can have a different level of intensity for different people, depending on your own level of fitness, what you're starting off from. So for example, a 5-minute slow walk may be very intense for someone with severe arthritis or lung disease, but for another person that may be of low intensity. So it's important for you out there at home to think about yourself and determine that you're not exercising too hard. And how could you do that? Well, you could monitor the intensity of your exercise. And here are some ways you could do that. Thanks, Shifra. So monitoring exercise intensity. So the first thing that we've mentioned is the talk test. So in other words, carry out a conversation if you're with someone just walking around. Are you able to talk to them okay? If you're on your own, can you talk out loud? Maybe recite a poem or the words of an old song or something like that out loud, just to see as a way of monitoring your breathing levels. If you have breathing problems, this may be difficult and you might need to try another method of exercise that you're doing. The next way to monitor your intensity level is the self-rating of exertion. So rate how hard you are working on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no work and 10 being the hardest work you could do. So hard you could only do it for maybe 30 seconds. Moderate on a scale like this would be in and around 3 to 5. So if you do your exercise at home and you're kind of rating it there and it's kind of like a 9 or a 10, then the level of exercise that you're doing is probably too intense, and we'd say to roll that back a little bit. You're looking more to grade it in around 3 to 5. And then another way to monitor the intensity is to count your pulse. Now your course book has a good information on heart rate if you're interested, and page 129, that's 129 in your book, has good details on that. Overall, for all of this kind of exercises that we're talking about here, and the intensity levels and monitoring levels, chapter 7, or page 105 in your book, is also a good reference point. Now, if you are planning a new exercise program or in adding in endurance exercise to your already fitness program, you can also follow the FIT formula. Thanks, Chief, for that. Blue tack problems. Okay. So, be fit. So what we're looking for from you are frequency, so absolutely, intensity and time. So frequency is how often. So in other words, 3 to 5 days a week. So if you are going to start in your exercise, and it really is strongly recommended that you do, look for initially 3 days per week is the starting minimum. Intensity, how hard you're going to work, well, we've just talked about it now, no more than a moderate level of intensity. And the time, how much you exercise each day. So this is also known as the duration. The goal is to accumulate 30 minutes each day you exercise. Now it's important to remember that the 30 minutes can be broken down into maybe 2 15 minutes or 3 10-minute periods, or even for some people it's 6 5-minute periods. It doesn't have to be done all at once. I think that's a really good point. And when we're exercising, we think this kind of 30 minutes, but we can break it down during the day as we go along. So when doing an endurance exercise, which is like walking or cycling or dancing or gardening, it's important to warm up before you begin exercising more briskly. So you can do this by doing some flexibility exercises that we've spoken about earlier, or strolling for 3 to 5 minutes before walking briskly. So maybe if you're going to go out on a walk, maybe just start off slowly first of all, and then move up a little bit of your pace if you're able. Consider adding a warm-up to daily activities, such as flexibility exercises for your knees and back, maybe even before gardening or even some housework. You can safely increase the time you exercise by alternating brisk exercise with intervals or rest or even easy exercise. If your heart rate and breathing increase while exercising, then it's really important that you cool down by exercising more slowly for 3 to 5 minutes before stopping. So that's an important point as well. And sometimes when we finish our activity, we kind of just stop, but it's actually important to really just slow down, cool down, when you're warmed up, cool it down again. Because that would actually help prevent irregular heartbeats or sore muscles. So we're just going to do a quick demonstration for you now at how you would monitor the exercise intensity level of a moderate level of exercise. And we're going to practice the second method on the monitoring exercise intensity chart, the self-rating of exertion. Maybe you could try this at home as well while you're looking at us. What we're going to do is exercise for 1 minute. I'm going to be marching on the spot for a minute, and my colleague Shifra here will be sitting down and conducting an orchestra. Imagine yourself in front of a nice big orchestra and you're conducting them, so get your arms moving along the way. So you might try to think of the monitoring the self-rating of exertion, so that's kind of giving it a number between 1 to 10 as you do this. Or even at home, you could try the talk test, which is, if you're at home or there's somebody else there, talk to them while you're trying to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to get my phone to time 1 minute. You can get yours at home, but we'll be indicating it here.
Maybe you'd like to join us in doing it.
Absolutely, yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great.
Ready?
And we're off.
Cool.
How are you finding conducting, Shifra?
I'm always surprised at how long a minute feels when we start doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember doing it in other groups, all right, we'll be doing it.
Yeah.
People start off well and
Absolutely.
it gets a little
It's quite a
tiring.
demand on your upper body.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's great if you're at home and you don't feel you can get out to do a lot of exercise. This is a really good way of just having some moderate exercise. You can see that I'm able to talk while I'm conducting this wonderful imaginary orchestra. But it still means I'm getting a decent amount of movement.
Absolutely. And I can feel it myself as well.
Yeah.
Just walking on the spot, so I don't have to get out anywhere or do anything. But even this would be a nice way to warm up if I was going to go for a longer walk.
Absolutely.
Or something like that, so we can see how it goes. But yeah, so as you can see, the minute does take a while to
It does. What are we
tick
at?
on by.
Oh,
There we go.
we're there.
There
Okay,
we go.
I'm
So
in.
we can stop at home. We can stop it there. Ah. This doesn't want to. This doesn't want to stop. Wants to give us a little bit more exercise. Okay. So what I'd ask you at home there, try and rate that level of exertion for yourself. Shifa, for yourself, if I could ask you maybe, between 0 to 10, where were we lying
I'd say
there?
it was probably about a 4.
A 4.
Yeah, about
So
a 4. 3 to 4.
3 to 4. So that for you would be a moderate
Yeah,
level.
yeah,
Definitely,
yeah.
that would be a moderate level there. For myself there, I felt it was maybe around Yeah, we're around that 2 to 3, so it's kind of getting in there. So maybe I could do a little bit more, but not too much more.
Okay.
So it felt like that for me. Remember, a 3 to 5 is a good level for an endurance exercise. Above this is too much, and below this, you might try a little bit more. By knowing how to change the frequency, intensity, and our time, duration of our exercise, we can safely begin or gradually add to our exercise program until we are able to reach the recommended goal of, remember, 30 minutes of exercise a day, most days of the week. Maybe some people are already doing that, but that's what we're aiming for. And again, 30 minutes doesn't have to be done all at once. It can be done as 3 minutes an hour, 10 minutes 3 times a day, or 15 minutes twice a day. So, our physical exercise is really important at this time more than ever. So we would ask you, it is a really important part of the self-management toolbox, the physical activity. And as we said before, it really does help with a lot of the symptoms in our symptom cycle. So thank you for this, and I will now hand you back over to Shifra.
Okay, great. So welcome back. I hope you found that piece on endurance exercise helpful, particularly when so many of us are spending so much more time at home at the moment. So yeah, moderate intensity is good. So in contrast to that kind of exercise piece, we're now going to do a really lovely piece around relaxation, and it's called a body scan, and we're going to just kind of talk to you about what a body scan is, and then I'm just going to read a really nice relaxing script that you can listen to and hopefully just follow what it says in the body scan to make your body feel really nice and relaxed. So sometimes when we rest, we really don't get good quality rest because our minds keep racing and our muscles therefore also will often remain tense. Our body will just feel somewhat tense. So this exercise, which is called a body scan, can enhance the quality of rest. It can really help easing painful muscles, and it can also help with shortness of breath, so kind of regulating your breathing. It relaxes not only the mind, but also the muscles as well. So the first step in doing this body scan is to focus on your breathing, and then you're kind of scanning your body, almost like you're an X-ray scanner, scanning your body for areas that you might be holding on to tension. It might be around your neck muscles, it might be around your arms, or it might be your legs or your feet or your hands. So whatever part, you're scanning through your body to see where you're holding on to tension. And the reason we're trying to focus in on where we're holding tension in our body is then to deliberately target that site to really help to relax that part of your body. So this is one of the breathing techniques from our toolbox. So if you look at our toolbox, our self-management toolbox, this scan would come in under kind of breathing techniques to help manage tension in the body. So we're now going to practice this relaxation technique called the body scan, which is all about focusing on your body and breathing to help relaxation. So it's going to take about 5 minutes. I'm going to pause now and we're going to record it, and I hope you enjoy it. As you get into a comfortable position, allowing yourself to begin to sink comfortably into the surface below you, you may perhaps begin to allow your eyes gradually to close. From there, turn your attention to your breath. Breathe in, allowing the breath gradually to go all the way down to your belly. And then breathe out. And again, breathe in and out, noticing the rhythm, the natural rhythm of your breathing. Now allow your attention to focus on your feet. Starting with your toes, notice whatever sensations are there: warmth, coolness, whatever's there. Simply feel it. Using your mind's eye, imagine that as you breathe in, the breath goes all the way down into your toes, bringing with it refreshing air. And now, noticing the sensations elsewhere in your feet, not judging or thinking about what you're feeling, but simply becoming aware of the experience of your feet as you allow yourself to be fully supported by the surface below you. Next, focus your attention on your lower legs and knees. These muscles and joints do a lot of work for us, but often we don't give them the attention they deserve. So now breathe down into your knees, calves, and ankles, noticing whatever sensations appear. See if you can stay with the sensations, breathing in new, fresh air as you exhale, releasing tension and stress, and allowing the muscles to relax and soften. Now move your attention to the muscles, bones, and joints of the thighs, buttocks, and hips. Breathing down into the upper legs, noticing whatever sensations you experience. It may be warmth, coolness, a heaviness, or lightness. You may become aware of the contact with the surface beneath you, or perhaps the pulsing of your blood. Whatever's there, what matters is that you are taking time to learn to relax deeper and deeper as you breathe in and out. Move your attention now to your back and chest, feeling the breath fill the abdomen and chest. Noticing whatever sensations are there, not judging or thinking, but simply observing what is right here, right now. Allowing the fresh air to nourish the muscles, bones, and joints as you breathe in, and then exhaling any tension and stress. Now focus on the neck, shoulders, arms, and hands. Inhaling down through the neck and shoulders, all the way down to your fingertips. Not trying too hard to relax, but simply becoming aware of your experience of these parts of your body in the present moment. Turning now to your face and head. Notice the sensations beginning at the back of your head, up along your scalp, and down into your forehead. Then become aware of the sensations in and around your eyes, and down into your cheeks and jaw. Continue to allow your muscles to release and soften as you breathe in nourishing fresh air, and allow tension and stress to leave as you breathe out. As you drink in fresh air, allow it to spread throughout your body, from the soles of your feet all the way up through the top of your head. And then exhale any remaining stress and tension. And now take a few moments to enjoy the stillness as you breathe in and out, awake, relaxed, and still. Now as the body scan comes to a close, coming back into the room, bringing with you whatever sensations of relaxation, comfort, peace, whatever's there, knowing that you can repeat this exercise at any appropriate time and place of your choosing. When you are ready, open your eyes. Okay, great. So hopefully you were able to engage in that body scan exercise. Maybe today isn't the very best day for you, maybe you're not having a good day, but it's something that you now have recorded and you can use it whenever you want to. So I suppose with any new skill, you need to give this a try once or twice a week over the next 2 weeks, maybe before deciding whether it's something that you like or not. I find with relaxation exercises that you have to decide whose voice you like or not. And there's a great resource that we often signpost for people, and it's the site that they use in Beaumont Hospital, and it's called, I'll give you the details for it, it's www.beaumont, B-E-A-U-M-O-N-T, beaumont.ie / and these are 4 capital letters, M-A-R-C. So basically it's www.beaumont.ie / MARC, and the MARC stands for Mindfulness and Relaxation Centre. And underneath that they have a list of lovely short and slightly longer relaxation exercises with some lovely Irish voices, male, female, younger, older. You find there whichever one you might like to use. But do give this a try once or twice in the next week, because I think with the amount of stress everybody is experiencing right now, a little bit of pause time to catch your breath, to relax your breath and your body is probably going to be good for all of us. Okay, thanks.
Move on to our last activity today, which is our making an action plan. So at this time every week we always set up to do our action plan again, to set it for the coming week, and it's something that we always do at the end of each session. So remember that action plans allow us to achieve what we want to do or decide to do, but it breaks it down into smaller steps, more doable steps, so that the overall activity can be achieved. And thanks, She, for your point there. Mm-hmm. So remember the parts of the action plan, we look at it. So the first point is something you want or decide to do. It's not what somebody else wants you to do, it's what you want to do. This point is really important, that it's achievable. Something we can expect to be able to do over the next couple of days. Something that you're able to do. It must be action specific. So remember, something like losing weight would be like a goal, but it's not action specific. But if I said to myself, I'll replace the snacks with some fruit, that would be action specific, and that would help me achieve my goal overall. So that's what we need to kind of get into. And then, really importantly, point 4, it needs to answer these questions.
The magic questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is it? So the specific action, that's what we're looking for. How much? So in other words, is that in time or distance or amount? Something that you can at least measure anyway. When are you going to do it? Time of day or days of the week? And then how often? The number of times in the week. We would say kind of avoid every day. Don't try and do something every day. Kind of give yourself a break off somewhere there. We'll look at that. And then our last point, our confidence level of 7 or more. Remember at home, you're looking for 7 or more when you set your action plan. If you feel that it's lower than 7, you'll have to think about that at home. Maybe you need to make it smaller or reduce the action plan, maybe not for as long or as often, many days. That can often get that number back up. The reason that we go for 7 or more is so that it makes it more likely that it's going to be achieved or it's achievable to do. So we're going to start with our own action plans for this week, and I'll start with my own. So my action plan, something that I want to do, is I want to do a relaxation exercise, and that body scan that Shifa spoke you through earlier is something that I'd like to do. That is, well, it's available now by Shifra on our recording here, but it's also on page 76. The script for it in your book is in there, so you could read that yourself. Some people have read that, recorded themselves on their own phone, or maybe somebody in their family, they could go down through it if you like listening to them, and you could play that in the evening time. So that's one way to get it for the body scan. So that's what I'm going to do. So the action specific, yeah, it's a body scan is what I'm going to do. So what is it? A body scan. How much? Well, I'm going to do that for 4 nights in the week, okay? And it's going to be for about 10 minutes before I go to bed. I'm going to do it on the kind of work nights which are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for me. And yeah, how often? 4 times in the week for about 10 minutes. I get nice and relaxed first. I'll just kind of slow down a few things. Then I listen to a body scan. And hopefully I get a good night's sleep. My confidence level at that, yeah, it's a good 8, 9. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm going to give it a go.
Great, good luck with that one.
Thank you, Shifra.
Just to remind you, sorry, did you want to do it?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
This is the booklet, your booklet, and on page 26 you have details of what the action plan is. So that might help you to just track what your plans are for your action plan over the next couple of days.
So your action plan for this
so
week, if I may ask?
My action plan is, I rooted out of the cupboard last week a small little step device counter, and I really felt, yeah, I want to start using that again. So my action specific is I'm going to count my steps, how much, I'm going to do it for 30 minutes, I'm going to do it 4 evenings of the week, so I'm going to do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, keeping them all together. So that's 4 times in the week that I'm going to do it, for 30 minutes. And my confidence level is an 8. I actually feel a great satisfaction in seeing those steps at the end of the exercise.
Yes, brilliant. That is great. So best of luck with that, Chief. I hope it works out for you. And we'll hear from both of us next time how we got on with our action plans. So you at home, take a little while there, just think about what action plan you're going to do between now and the next time you see us. Something, remember, that you want to do, and that's something that's achievable to be able to do it, and answers those questions. And as Shifa pointed out, it's in your book there, those the structure of the action plan as well. And remember that an action plan is part of our self-management toolbox. And remember, all these tools help us to break into the symptom cycle at different points. So that's why we use them. Okay, so just in closing then, at this stage, we've covered quite a lot today. So what we'd say is, do begin monitoring your fitness by either the self-rating or exertion, so rating it out of 10, and you remember you're looking for 3 to 5 on that, or the talk test. Are you able to speak to somebody with you or recite a poem or something like that if you're on your own? And do write down the results. It's a good way to kind of track how you're getting on along there. In addition to keeping track of your physical activities, we'd also ask you to look at what you are eating during the week. So kind of make a note of what you typically eat, maybe during a weekday, and then maybe there's any difference at the weekend. Maybe there isn't anymore, but maybe there is. You could have a look at that as well. Just kind of keep a track of it. It's not to kind of change it or anything, but just to see what are you doing, what sort of things are happening there.
And that's to link in with something we're doing next week,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly. So we're going to move on to another one of our tools for the toolbox next week, healthy eating. And when we talk about healthy eating next week, it'll make more sense to you if you've already tracked and know kind of what you're doing for yourself as well. Okay, we would invite you, like when we finish any of our sessions, do look in your handbook, your book that goes along with the course, because it covers a lot what we speak about here, but even in more detail as well. So next week, as we said, we'll be talking about healthy eating, but we'll also be looking at better breathing, a nice piece around communication skills, and helping to try and solve more problems as we go along the way. Do keep track of your action plan. Sometimes it's handy just to even write out the action plan, stick it on the fridge even, just to make sure that you kind of remember what you're doing, because there could be a lot going on. And yeah, so thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you again.